and welcome to my channel, Distinctive Crochet. My name is Priscilla, and I like to Well, today I'm wearing a poncho that I crochet following a DOY Creations pattern. And in this tutorial today, guys, we will be turning this beautiful poncho into a Swancho. That's right, guys, we're going to be adding sleeves to our ponchos, which will add function and fashion. So let's go ahead and get started. For today's tutorial, you will need a Granny Stitch Poncho, and I used the pattern following DOY Creations tutorial, which I will leave in the description box below. You will also need a measuring tape, a pair of scissors, the crochet hook in the size that you were already using, 2 stitch markers, which I will be using 2 pieces of contrasting yarn, a yarn needle, as well as the yarn that you were using for your poncho. Okay, everyone, I also wanted to mention that you don't want to have any sort of edging on your poncho before you add the sleeves. And as you saw in the previous picture, I have it laid out. That's how you should have yours laid out as well. And so what we're going to do is we're going to mark our place for our sleeves first. And I'm working on the left side of my poncho as it is facing me. And here is the top cluster of 3 double crochets. And you want to have one of those at the top, and then I'm going to count down 1, 2, and 3 clusters, and then I will mark the space right after the 3rd cluster. Now yours might be a little bit different than mine if you're using a worsted weight yarn, but that is totally fine, guys, because we are definitely going to measure and give you the measurement for your sleeves that you should have. And this is an oversized sleeve, guys, so this should be good enough for most people. But if you like your sleeves a little bigger, just go ahead and add a couple more clusters and see what your measurement is. If you need it a little smaller, then just take some away. It's totally up to you guys. But as you saw, mine measured about 8 inches. So I went ahead and marked that with my contrasting yarn, and now we're going to go ahead and grab our yarn to start working up our sleeves. And in this space here, we're going to go ahead and slip stitch to join our yarn. And we just want to go through that one side, just that top layer of our poncho. We'll go ahead and slip stitch there, and then we're going to chain up 2. Make sure, guys, you're only going through that first top layer. So chain 2, there's 1 and 2. And then we're going to go on to the second part. But first, I got to fix this. My yarn split on me. Sorry about that, guys. So now we're going to go ahead and slip stitch to the other side. So now that we have our yarn joined to the other side, we are going to go ahead and chain up 3. And that is our first double crochet into our space. And then we will go ahead and do 2 more double crochets for our granny cluster. Alright, so we have our 3 double crochets, and now we're going to chain 2, and then we're just going to go ahead into our next space with our 3 double crochets for our granny cluster. And there's that 1, 2, and 3. Now we just need to chain up 2, find our next cluster, our next space to make our next cluster, and then go ahead and put it in that space. Just like that. So now, guys, all you have to do is you're just going to keep going around in this same fashion, following your granny stitch pattern all the way around, and then I will meet you right back as soon as you get to that section there. It's right before the join. So we're going to go ahead and do our granny stitch around, and then I will meet you back. Okay, guys, and I made it back around. I have my chain up 2, So now I'm ready to go ahead and do 3 double crochets right into this space. So there's 1, 2, and 3. So now I need to go ahead and chain 2, put 3 double crochets right into this space. That's where we joined right at the beginning. It's 1, 2, and 3. So now we need to chain 2 and then slip stitch in the top of our chain 3. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and slip stitch in the top of our double crochets right over to our next space. And that's how you join that round. So now we made it back to our space. So all we have to do is go ahead and chain up 3 for our first double crochet. And now we're going to do 2 more double crochets in the same space. Now we need to chain 2. And then we will go ahead and do our 3 double crochets into our next space. So all we have to do is chain 2 and 3 double crochets in the next space, and then keep repeating that all the way around until we get back to our space right before our join. I'll meet you back and I'll show you how to join. So I made it back around. I have my chain 2, and now I'm ready to go ahead and 3 double crochets into that space. There's 1, 2, and 3. Now we need to go ahead and chain up 2 and slip stitch to join at the top of that chain 3. Alright, so now we have our slip stitch to join, and we joined our round. And now we just need to slip stitch over into our next space, and then you just start the pattern all over again. But if you notice, the join was here and now it moved over a cluster. For each time we go around, it will move over one cluster. So just make sure you keep following the same pattern, and whenever you have to join, just slip stitch over until you get to the next space, and then you can repeat the pattern. I really like that though, because it gives you a continuous look without a visible seam. So just slip stitch into that space, and now we can go ahead and chain up 3 to begin our pattern for the next round. Put 2 more double crochets into that same space, chain up 2 and 3 double crochets into the next space, 1, 2, and 3. And now you're just going to keep repeating that all the way around until you get to the length that you like. I am using chunky yarn, so yours might be different than mine, but just go ahead until you get to the length that you like. And I will meet you back what it looks like when I'm done. Okay guys, so I made it back around. So all I'm going to do now is go ahead and chain up 2 And now I'm going to go ahead, slip stitch to join in the top of that chain 3. And that's my last round. So I'm just going to go ahead and fasten off by pulling my yarn through. If you need to cut yours, go ahead and do so. I'm at the end of mine, so I'm just going to pull it all the way through. You do want to leave a nice tail though, so that you can weave it in. So now we just need to make sure that we're weaving in our ends. And guys, also remember to go ahead and pull out your stitch marker, because we're done with that since we have our sleeve attached. And then that does leave our sides of our poncho open. So we're just adding the sleeves and not closing up the sides of the poncho. So there is our sleeve. And this is what it looks like. Hold on one second. Let me grab my measuring tape so I can show you guys what it will measure to be. Oh, sorry guys, it's sliding off the table. All right. So it measures about 8 inches. Let me push it back up. It keeps sliding. So there you can see there it measures at about 8 inches. And that gives me a length to my wrist. And I like that length, but if you would like yours to be a little longer or a little shorter, go ahead and make those adjustments. So that's the end of the tutorial. You just need to do it to the other side. I appreciate you coming along and doing this tutorial with me. I thank you again. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.